Hey, what's up? Welcome to DGen Ed. That's degenerative education, meaning none of this is financial advice. Just me having fun looking at charts, like the charts behind me, which include Tilray brands, ticker symbol TLRY, and I will also be going over a number of other cannabis stocks here. But I wanted to start with Tilray because they do have earnings coming up on the morning of April 9th. Unfortunately, I will be working when they report earnings, but I'd be happy to stream their earnings call on that evening. So let me know in the comments if you would like to listen to their earnings call with me on the evening of Tuesday, April 9th, maybe around 9 p.m. Eastern. So yeah, let me know. But getting into the chart here, looking at it on the daily time frame, Tilray did close the week at a price of $2.59.5, being down on the day just over 3% and hitting a high over the course of the week of $2.97 marked here. And so there are a couple things about the chart kind of related to earnings that I did want to go over. And also, thinking about this being the month of April and the 20th coming up, I do think there could be a lot of upside for the stock, but also I do think since it has run up a good amount here, there could be some potential downside. I do think it will be good to brace for levels that the stock might be returning to, but I also do think it could be heading higher. Earnings are always tough to predict, but with this big run up, I do think it's probably more likely that it does retrace to one of these levels. But long term, I do think that the cannabis sector is going a lot higher. So, this is really just for the short term. I do think that we might be seeing a pullback. So do brace for that. But I'm not bearish on cannabis long term. I just think that it does need to cool off a little bit. And one of the things that does stand out to me regarding a possible cool off is if we do look at the RSI. And so when we did hit the high up here, going to $3.40, that was hit on September 5th. We hit a high there. So on the chart here, that is the highest high that we're looking at. And so with that, right around that time, we did hit an RSI on, let's see, July 31st. The highest RSI that we saw here was 76.26. And that actually, maybe I'm making a case for this not being hidden bearish divergence, but just looking at the chart here, the highest RSI that we've seen in this time frame was right around 76, and the highest stock price in that time was $3.40. We are now hitting or have hit a lower high, but the RSI did go higher than that, hitting a high of 77.82. So while the days don't match up exactly, we are looking at lower highs in the stock price, higher highs in the RSI. That is bearish divergence. So it is quite possible that the high is in for the time being before we see a cool off and then start to see moves to the upside. But, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it does go up more following earnings, as we have seen a little bit of a pullback the past couple trading days. And so with earnings on the 9th, if price does go up, I would look for it to hit $3.36 or approximately $3.40, which was this previous high. If we get a close above $3.40, followed by another closing higher than that new high, I do think that could be confirming continuation to the upside, and price could be hitting $4 a share, if not higher. Sky's the limit. But, if that is not the case and we do see a pullback or a continuation to the downside, levels that I would look for, basically on Friday, we did pull back to this level here marked at $2.54, hitting a low on the day of $2.49. So I could see that potentially acting as support before earnings, and we do get a rally to $2.97, a close above that, a close at $3 or higher. I think that would be great, suggesting that it could be going up to $3.36 and higher. But, if we don't see that and we do see some continued red after earnings, levels that I do think the stock price could be arriving at would be the 50% retracement here at $2.28.5 or the 618 at $2.12.3. But I also do think it could be coming down to right around $2 a share. I do have $2.04 marked right here. I was told in the comments that it's not returning to $2 a share. And so while that might be what sentiment suggests, if everybody's saying it's going higher, chances are it's likely going lower. And if $2 is off the table, I think we could all be surprised. And we could take that as a pleasant surprise, as that would be a great discount. Or, we can be firm, set in our ways, expecting it to go higher and not be prepared for a good dip buying opportunity. If it does return to $2 a share, I do think it is quite possible it could return to the 786 at $1.89.3. But, that may not happen. $2 may serve as solid support if it does get down that low. But, what I could see looking at the chart here, if I do zoom in, 254, we do have a lot of these wicks up here. I do think this could be, holding as support. But if it does break, we do have these three candles here with opens and closes right around $2.31. That could be acting as support. And if we do throw up the volume profile, we do start to see that pick up here as we do have this consolidation over here as well. So $2.30 might be acting as significant support. So do look for that. But if not, $2 a share, I do think it's quite possible we return there. So, if I'm wrong, that's great. I want the stock to go higher. I want the community to be benefiting from this. But I do think it's good to prepare for that. And if it does return to such levels, to be able to buy the dip rather than just hold the bag, I think it's good to be able to take action when the price does dip. And not have your hands tied. But, those are just my thoughts, and I'm sure most people are not going to like them. But, that is the reality after having moved up. Let's see, to the highs here. That represents an 85% move. With current price, that represents, let's see, a 60% move. So, the price might need to cool off. We are still right around 70 with the RSI actually being a little bit below it at 65.28. So, it is quite possible that we will be moving back into the 70 range and move higher. So, very possible. But I think it's good to prepare just in case if it does pull back. And then moving on to the next ticker here, I do have SNDL, ticker symbol SNDL here. I did basically just the same kind of Fibonacci retracement with levels to the downside marked here in case it does not go higher. But if it does go higher, reclaiming $2.67 would be key, as we are notably below it, having closed on Friday at $2.20. Also being down, like Tilray, about 3% on the day. And so I do think that getting above 267 and closing above it would suggest a lot of strength. But if we can't get there, levels to the downside would be the 50% retracement right around $2 a share at 198.5. That does seem to coincide nicely with this white line that I've drawn here at $1.97.5. Then the next level down is the 618 at a price of $1.82.3. If that doesn't hold, I do have this red line drawn here at 171. Did serve as resistance over here, so that may very well act as support if price does retrace that much. And then the next level that I do have marked here is the 786 at a price of $1.59.3, which could coincide with retesting this downtrend, this white downtrending line that I have drawn here. Or potentially it could be returning to $1.49 marked by this yellow line, as we have moved up quite a lot with this stock from $1.30 up to the recent highs. That represents a more than 100% swing, and at current price that is right around 70% up. So it is quite possible that this cool off will continue into the next week, especially if the Tilray news, as Tilray is the largest cap cannabis stock that I'm covering here, perhaps their earnings is a sell the news event, or perhaps April 20th is a sell the news event. So do brace for further downside with this one as well. If you are up, 100% or 70%, it might be good to trim a little bit just in case it does pull back more. That you would have some on the side to buy the dip. But, as always, not financial advice. And then the next one on the list is HITI, ticker symbol HITI, which closed on Friday at a price of $2.52, being down just under 2% on the day. And here we are also looking at a pullback following a top that was hit on Thursday, April 4th, at a price of $2.85. And from that, we do have these Fibonacci levels that price might be returning to. I would say I am pretty compelled by the 50% retracement, having these two wicks and this candle overlapping that. And so that 50% retracement is at a price of $2.21.2. But actually looking at the 618 at a price of $2.06.2. We do have a lot more overlap there, some consolidation, so that may be acting as better support than the 50% level. But of course, just below that, the red line is at $1.99, right around $2 a share, being a psychological round whole dollar number. That might be acting as support if price does continue down. Below that, the yellow line at $1.93. And, I do have these lines marked because they were previous highs, they were previous resistance. They may be acting as support in the near future. And then just below those lines is the 786 at a price of $1.84.8. And that does also correspond with some wick highs, some tops of candles there. And so that could definitely be acting as support. So do look for that. As if we do take a measurement from the low here to the high, that does represent an 80% move to the upside. And with current price being at 252, that is, again, a 60% move to the upside. So it is quite possible we will be seeing a cool off if there is a sell the news event around either Tilray earnings or around April 20th. So do keep that in mind, as these are all up a lot and they might need to cool off. And here it does look like we had this high here and a higher high here. Looking at the RSI, we have a high corresponding to roughly around the same time of over 80, and the current recent high in the RSI was also over 80, but 80.2, whereas it was 80.43 here, making a higher high in the price, but a lower high in the RSI. That is unfortunately bearish divergence, but we could, of course, get a rally following Tilray earnings. The sector could continue to go up, so it is quite possible we do eclipse 285. And then looking at the next one on the list is Cronos Group, ticker symbol CRON. This hit a high on Thursday of $2.99, also having hit a higher high in the stock price. And let's see, the RSI back here was 73.81. The recent RSI was 76.05, so no bearish divergence there. So perhaps any bearish or hidden bearish signals that I'm seeing in the RSI, perhaps they're not significant, and perhaps price will continue higher. And closing above $2.99, really closing at or above $3 a share, would suggest a lot of strength and a continuation to the upside. So I would look for that if we do start to see some green candles next week. But if we don't, some levels that I do have marked here, one being $2.57, as that did correspond with the top over here, and a lot of consolidation over here, and also having acted as support over here. So that does seem like it is a pretty significant level. So 257 is one to look for. Hopefully we do hold that. And it does look like the low on Friday was 259, so just above that level. It is quite possible the bottom is in with that. But if not, if we do start to see closes below 257, I could see price going down to the 50% retracement at 244, or what stands out as more likely to me is the 618 at a price of $2.31, as that did act as resistance here before the pullback. And so I do think price could be finding some support there, as people who bought here would likely add if price returned to that level. So do keep that in mind. But then just below that, I have this white line here at $2.24.5. did serve as resistance over here as well as over here. Lots of resistance in this region, so that may be acting as support if we do return to that level. And then the 786, I don't feel like it's going to go this low because it does seem like there's a lot of support up here or potential support up here. But the 786 is right around a price of $2.12.5. So it is quite possible there could be some great dip buying opportunities around there. And then finally on the list, I do have Aurora Cannabis, ticker symbol ACB. And the reason why I wanted to throw this one up here is because it had a pretty massive run going up over 200% to that recent high that was hit on Thursday, April 4th, hitting a price on the 4th of $8.88. But we did get a pretty notable pullback, actually putting in what looks like this could be a very clear topping signal with this big wick up here, suggesting that really above the price of like $7 a share, $7.20, there are no buyers up here, only sellers. That's why we see this big wick. And so in order to negate this topping signal, we would need to get a close above $8.88, suggesting that price could continue higher, that there are buyers up there. Right now, we're not seeing it. So I do feel like this one will be continuing lower, as it did close on Friday at a price of $6.63, being down on the day just over 6%. I could see price returning to the 50% retracement at $5.86, but it could also be going lower, like to the 618 at $5.15, just above the psychological whole number of $5 a share, also corresponding with this wick up here, and then these other highs that were hit right around $4.90, so just below $5 a share, could be finding some support right around there. But if not, I do have this red line marked coincidentally at $4.20 a share, also being just above the 786 at $4.13. And so price could be returning there, as it does look like it had served as support in the past over here, might be serving as support again. But if not, we do have a lot of this consolidation over here, and the yellow line at $3.81. That could be the new floor. So it might be some great dip buying opportunities there, as we have gone up based on the current price over 100% still. And so coming back to just that 50% retracement, that is an upside move of 100% from the lows. So still, that could be acting as support. But even if not, if it does break lower, being up 100%, I think that's pretty good. I do think that the cannabis sector has a lot of upside to go over the course of this year. So, while it might be pulling back, all of these might be pulling back, I do think that they will be higher later in the year. But, it's really just about opportunity cost. If some of these are trimmed up here, those shares could be bought back lower, getting more shares, opening up an opportunity. Otherwise, just holding the bag from the highs up here, that's losing out on some opportunities. But, those are just my thoughts. If you found them helpful, make sure you like the video, share your thoughts in the comments down below, and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Thanks a lot for watching.